Hello there, this was going to be a members video, but I just decided I'd rather come out to the graveyard and sit in the sun and just record a video about tomorrow. More specifically, if anybody even bothers listening to anything I say, potentially some differentials from teams in which I've got something to play for, I've got a decent chance of doing well, and so on and so forth. And I've just recorded a bonus Total Steeler podcast about an hour ago now, and I just want to come outside, and I can't be bothered to do it in front of a computer. So yeah, and remember tomorrow, me and Jason, along with hopefully 8 other individuals, you, coming live on air to cover one of the matches. There are 4 in the UK now, so there's 4 in the UK, and there is the other 6 obviously, which will be from abroad. So you'll be able to, for anybody that is available, to come live on air with me and Jason to talk through what is going on throughout the games. That'll be great. But yeah, tomorrow's going to be a fascinating one. I did listen into a very good podcast. You may have seen me tweet about it. The Green Arrow podcast with Adam Hockcroft, Fergie and Rich Clark. Rich Clark sounds, when he speaks, sounds exactly like John Motson. They must be from the same area. They speak exactly the same. But very interesting podcast, just going through each individual. Pretty much what I'm about to do now, really. And I'm looking forward to how frantic tomorrow is going to be, because we have got this new tactic of finding out what's going on regarding as the plane goes over. That'll be a big one as well. Don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. I doubt it. I'm about to go past the thing. But yeah, it's a new tactic, isn't it? Waiting for team leaks. Let's go on a deadline stream, usually Andy or FPL Focal or Raptor, and get a team leak for Manchester City or whoever is the early kickoff. And it's working. There are people that are taking advantage of this, which is fair enough. And tomorrow is going to be absolute chaos, considering there are 10 games rather than 1. Because usually it's what? We're waiting for Man City team news. Now it's 10. And there is a small possibility, because all of us are in the same boat, there is a small possibility that we may not have 3 or 4 players, like main first team players playing for us. So for argument's sake, in my situation, Shaw ain't going to be playing. He ain't going to be playing at all. Diaz, very unlikely. Not that I don't think I'm playing him anyway. Rashford probably does play, to be fair, but there is a small possibility he doesn't. You know, the Green Arrow were talking about the potential possibility of Salah maybe being benched. He won't be. Salah will play. We don't need to worry about Salah. He'll be starting. But the likes of Robertson, I think it's already pretty much come out that he's not going to be playing anyway. And yeah, I just find tomorrow is going to be fascinating, because you know, me and Jason are going to be live roughly 2:15, 2:30, something like that, because he's got a get together with family and friends. So I don't know the exact deal with when he's going to be able to go live with me, because I'm not going to get home until the earliest 1:30, but that's like a miracle driving. There's no way in hell I get home for 1:30. So I'll be getting home at about, like I do every Sunday, about 1:45, roughly. And then, obviously, by which point, we're going to be getting all this information coming out regarding the team leaks and everything. And obviously I'll be wanting to keep up to date with it, which means that it's going to have an effect on our transfers, obviously. And yeah, I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens between myself and Jason, because there are only, I think it's 16 points between us. Is he willing to take a -8, -12, which takes that to what, 28 points, and then hope that that player, plus as a captain, because that's what he'll do, he'll put them then as a captain, will they then outscore my captain and get all you get the idea with that. So tomorrow is literally going to be one of the most incredible, because even the top of the moderator league, as an example, you know, Armand, Dylan and Harbour Boy, they'll be fascinated to know what the team news is. You then got the YouTube chat league, which is pretty much coming down to the wire as well. Like there's only a few points in the YouTube chat league. So again, it's going to be fascinating to see what those guys do over. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. It's funny how the camera, it doesn't really do justice how low that plane is. They are genuinely, because Heathrow is, well, it's over there. Trees. Beyond those trees over there. It's 6 miles from where, 6 miles from here, so it's not very far away. But like I say, it doesn't really justify how low down that plane is. And this is like a really good spot, especially if you go over that way. But no, going on to it, the games that we've got involved, you know, I'll go through the history again, why not? And I'll go through my score predictions and what the home form is suggesting and the away form is suggesting. So for basically, you know, the average result for when Arsenal are playing at home is 3-1 over the last 6. And the average away result that goes against Wolves, for example, is they lose 2-0. Just an average. So yeah, with Arsenal versus Wolves, obviously this is actually one of those games where there could be heavy rotation. Could be. I do think though that the main players like Odegaard, Saka, Trossard will be playing, so I don't think anybody has to fear about them. It's the likes of potentially Jesus that may not start. But the thing is, most of us aren't in a position where we own Jesus. If you're out there and you own Jesus, why? But let's get real here. Most of us will have one Arsenal player at most, and it's probably going to be a defender, Gabriel. But other than that, who's got Trossard? Who's got Jesus? Who's got Saka? Nobody. There may be someone that has Odegaard, because he's actually a very good pick. But I personally think that there's no way that you're going out your way to well, you could go out your way to buy an Arsenal player if we find out that obviously one of your main players is going to be out. So, in my case, Mahrez, there's a small, well, 40% chance he doesn't play tomorrow. So I would argue that Mahrez could go out for one of Trossard, Saka, as a simple example. But really, thankfully, we're all kind of in the same boat when it comes to our transfers. Well, our teams. So yeah, I mean, from my personal perspective, I'm going Arsenal to win 2-0, something like that. I really do not see Wolves taking a hammering here. History's going 2-1. 2-1 has happened on 3 occasions across the last 6. Although Arsenal have won 3 games away from home to 0. So if this was away, there'd be a high chance of them keeping a clean sheet. But again, when you're reading into that stat, essentially, I'd be more looking at the... See, I can edit that now. I'd be looking at more the fact that Arsenal have won away to 0 on 3 occasions. So, whether it's away or not, I think there's a decent chance, a 50% chance of Arsenal keeping a clean sheet based on the history. The home form, though, is suggesting 3-1 to Arsenal. And the away form is suggesting 2-0 to Arsenal. So really, what I'm trying to say here is that reading into the history stats, let's say stats, you know what I mean. Arsenal more likely going to be keeping a clean sheet. Like I said, it's about a 50% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Wolves. So play your Arsenal defenders if you've got them. And from an attacking perspective, if you've got one, brilliant. If not, to be honest, I wouldn't be worrying about it. But certainly, it may be, if you do have one, could be a nice differential. Talking of differentials, if anybody still owns Ollie Watkins, I think this could be a great shout for potentially a captaincy option, genuinely. I'm going 2-1, I think Aston Villa. Maybe even 2-0. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, something like that. Don't think it's going to be that high scoring. But certainly, I think that Aston Villa have enough in them to beat Brighton. Aston Villa are very good at the moment. And I know Jason disagreed that they're not a very, very good team. I love the sound of the engine as well, if you can hear it. In fact, again, I'll just switch the camera. But yeah, I expect Aston Villa to come through this 2-1. The history's saying, so it's split really. It's kind of 2-1 either way, really. Aston Villa have won 3 out of the last 6. There's been 2 clean sheets across the last 6. Although, the last time they met, Aston Villa lost 2-1. So 2-1 seems to be a common theme. I mean, of the 4 predictions of this game, 2-1 occurs 3 times from myself, from the history, and from the away form. So I'm going 2-1 Aston Villa. The history's saying 2-1 Brighton. Home form suggesting 2-0. And the away form is suggesting a 2-1 victory to Aston Villa. This is one of the tough games now, Brentford Man City. Again, another game where we've all got a minimum of 2 Man City assets. Some of us have 3. Obviously, I've got Mahrez, Haaland and Diaz. I think this is going to be tight. I don't think this is going to be a walkover. I just think they're going to... I would not be surprised if this game ended 1-1. Even maybe a Brentford victory. I think they've got it in them to secure 3 points here. But I just think, as I always say, Man City have the quality to come through. I do only think it's going to be a goal in it. Like I say, 1-0 City, 1-1, 2-1 either way. I'm personally going 2-1 City because of their quality, but history's saying 2-0. Man City have 2... This is across 3 fixtures. Man City have kept 2 clean sheets across those 3. Although the last time these met, it ended 2-1 to Brentford away at the Etihad. The home form is suggesting 1-1. And the away form is suggesting 2-1. So again, it's all suggesting a tight game here. And I'd be avoiding it like the plague. I wouldn't be bringing any Brentford assets. I wouldn't be bringing in any Man City assets. It's more of a sell for me. If they don't start, especially. Moving on to Chelsea versus Newcastle. So yeah, these last few games, I mean, Ollie Watkins, if you own him, brilliant. Would I bring him in? I'd rather put 50... Well, I have done. I'd rather put 50p on any time goal or assist, personally. But again, I wouldn't be bringing in any assets. It's all about the team news, isn't it? Regarding Brighton, really, and who you remove. But no, I'd be avoiding this fixture like the plague as well. Same as Brentford versus Man City. Avoid it. Chelsea, Newcastle, avoid it. But if you've got assets, especially Newcastle, keep them. This is, for me, one of the hardest fixtures to call, personally. Chelsea are in dire straits at the moment. I would not be surprised if this game ended 0-0 or 1-1. I would not be surprised whatsoever if this game ended 0-0 or 1-1. I'm actually going with a Newcastle win here because Newcastle are a very, very good team. They seem to just be constantly getting results. They're up against a Chelsea team that just want this season ending now. The history, though, is going 2-0 Chelsea. 1-0 has happened 3 times across the last 6. 2 of them being at Chelsea. 2 of them being at Newcastle. Chelsea have won 4 out of the last 6 to 0 as well. So Chelsea seem to enjoy playing with, as I've got an ant on my arm. Chelsea seem to enjoy playing Newcastle and keeping a clean sheet. So, but I just think with the quality, like Wilson worries me a lot this game week. I think he could even be a potential captaincy. Genuinely. I say Newcastle are absolutely on fire at the moment. Chelsea, but then again, Newcastle have done what they need to do to secure Champions League, so they may be another team on the beach. Yeah, they may be on the beach, and Frank Lampard may nick a result here, 1-0. But yeah, terrible game. Avoid it again. Avoid it like the plague. This next fixture, though, Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest. Oh yeah, I didn't say the home form suggesting 1-1, and the away form suggesting a Newcastle 2-1 victory. Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest. A team that survived versus a team that have started picking up some form, scoring goals under Roy Hodgson. It seems to be a match made in heaven, doesn't it? And I think that Crystal Palace come on at some top. I think both teams score. I think it'll be a party day for both teams. There's no, what's the word I'm looking for here? Malice between either team. And yeah, I expect Crystal Palace just to come through 2-1. I think it's going to be, like I said, a party atmosphere for both teams. Nottingham Forest at the fact that they stayed up, and Crystal Palace, it's their home at Selhurst Park. They do pretty well at Selhurst Park. So yeah, I'm going 2-1 to Crystal Palace. History saying 1-0 to Nottingham Forest though. On 3 occasions, Nottingham Forest have actually beaten Crystal Palace 1-0. Forest are unbeaten in the last 5 versus Crystal Palace. They've won 3 and drawn 2. The home form is suggesting 2-0 to Crystal Palace, and the away form is also suggesting a 2-1 victory. So yeah, I'm stating the obvious again. You've heard it all before. Eze, Elise, Edouard if you're really desperate. But yeah, those 3 names stick out like a sore thumb. Leeds Tottenham. I think the Leeds Tottenham game is the one game where most people are actually targeting a differential full stop, and even some people are actually thinking, I'm just getting rid of X player to bring in Harry Kane or Son. I think this is going to be tighter than what people think here. You're playing a Sam Allardyce team who, yeah, alright, it's Sam Allardyce, it's Leeds, but I was listening to the Clash of the Correspondents on Planet FPL with Andy Martin and Ricky Saunders, and they think it's going to be a lot of fun. But they made a very, very good point. And in fact, it wasn't just a good point, it was an outstanding thought. We need Tottenham to score first, because that means that Leeds have to win. Leeds need to go for this. And let's just pray that Tottenham score first, and it's just hit on the counter, hit on the counter, hit on the counter. Like I say, I'd expect through Tottenham's quality, a bit like with Man City, their quality to shine through. I'm going 2-1. History is saying 4-1 to Tottenham. Tottenham have won 4 out of the last 6 against Leeds. The last 2, they've scored 4 goals against Leeds. However, Leeds have won 2 out of 3 at home against Tottenham. So this game is just avoid on the accumulators like the plague. Just avoid it. Don't go anywhere near it. There have been 24 goals also scored across the last 6. So it tells me there's going to be goals in this game. The home form is suggesting a 2-2, and the away form is suggesting a 2-2. So again, if you're investing in Tottenham assets, obviously you're going to be going for the attacking options. Leicester versus West Ham. God almighty, fucking dire. Even though Leicester are playing for something, according to Jamie Vardy, staying in the Premier League would be a bigger achievement than winning the Premier League and winning the FA Cup. You're speaking shit. I've never heard such fucking nonsense in my life. I mean, if you were to tell me, as a Burnley fan, that you're going to win the Premier League, you're going to win the FA Cup, but in 3 years' time, 3 years, you're fighting relegation, and one of your players, and I came out and said, staying in the Premier League is bigger than winning the Premier League and the FA Cup. I need my head testing. I know I need it testing anyway, but just Jamie Vardy come out with that nonsense. Like I was listening to a Rantermeisters podcast, and they were talking about the whole thing of when ex-manager comes out and they say, yeah, this is the best team I've ever been in charge of. No, it wasn't. It was the Out of Office podcast. And they were talking about how Ricky Gervais comes out and says, oh, his latest project is the greatest one ever. Just say, you don't need to say that. Just say you really enjoyed making it. Just tell me that you've really enjoyed making Afterlife, and that's it. Because the reality of the situation is The Office is your masterpiece work. But point being is that they were saying about how all footballers and managers, they all come out and say, yeah, this is at the World Cup, this is the best World Cup camp we've been in and stuff. I say every single time. Years later, months later, yeah, it was shit, we hated it. And Jamie Vardy saying what he's doing, like, yeah, well done, you've stayed in the Premier League, but have you actually enjoyed it? No. What you've enjoyed being beaten every single week and your home form being absolutely atrocious. Yeah, that's an achievement, is it staying up? Whereas celebrating with Claudio Ranieri and everyone else and winning the Premier League from nothing and the FA Cup and celebrating everything, that's not as good. Oh, fuck off. Nonsense. Awful game. I'm just saying 1-1. I'm just saying 1-1 here. I think it's more in favour of Leicester because West Ham will be on the beach / thinking about the Europa Conference final. But history's going 3-1 to West Ham. West Ham have won 3 and drawn 1 in the last 6. On 8 occasions across the last 6, a team has scored 2 or more goals. On 2 occasions, 3 goals have been scored by a team. And on another 2 occasions, 4 goals has been scored by our team. So, again, expect goals in this game when it comes to the history. Home form is suggesting a 2-1 victory to West Ham. And the away form is suggesting a 4-1 victory to Leicester. Could there be some gems in that game regarding differentials? Possibly. Vardy, Barnes, Maddison, to name 3. But again, I'd be avoiding like the play. The next game though, I think this could be brilliant. And I've just realised I've missed out a game, haven't I? Everton versus Bournemouth. So Everton versus Bournemouth. Like I said, Sean Dyche on the final days of the season, slightly different circumstances because we were always safe or we were being promoted. But always seems to end up, Sean Dyche just lets the shackles off and just lets us just have some fun on the final day. Again, I'm aware that he needs to win this game to stay up. I think he goes for it. Bournemouth are literally on the beach, and I expect Everton to have a bit of fun here. I'm going 3-1 to Everton. History saying it the other way around, 3-1 to Bournemouth. Bournemouth have scored 3 or more goals against Everton in the last 4. Everton have only won 1 out of their last 6, and remember their home form is terrible, and that suggests that with a 3-1 victory to Bournemouth, and the away form suggesting a 3-2 victory to Bournemouth. So again, expect goals in this game. But certainly McNeil, Doucouré, Damari Gray could be really good options, genuinely, for this match. Yeah, Man United Fulham. Garnacho, 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 Garnacho. If he's starting, get him. Was he 4.1? Get him. Get him, get him, get him. I envisage him getting something in that game against Fulham. I think this game's going to be a lot of fun. I really do. 4-1, 4-2, 3-1, 3-2, either way. Not either way, sorry, in favour of Man United. I reckon this is going to be a lot of fun, this game. And Garnacho and Martial could be getting double-digit hauls, genuinely. I'm going 4-1 to Man United. History's saying 3-1. There's been 20 goals scored across the last 6, 15 of them for Man United. On 3 occasions, Man United have scored 3 or more goals against Fulham, and they're unbeaten in the last 6. So yeah, it's all pointing in the favour of Man United. History's saying, the away form's saying 2-0, and the home form is saying 2-0. And finally, we move on to another beach game where neither team has anything to play for. Liverpool can't move up a place or go down a place. Southampton are relegated. Put your hand into a hat with numbers 0 to 9. Pick it out, and then put your hand in another hat and pull out a number from 0 to 9, and that's your result. And if it says 9, if you picked out 9-9, it could be that. This could be anything. This is a lottery, this game. I'm going Southampton to lose 3-1. History's saying 3-0 to Liverpool. 4 times a team has won 0, but they've all been at home. So actually, Southampton could be winning this 1-0. Wouldn't that be ironic? There's the line, Steve-o. Home form suggesting 2-0 to Liverpool, and the away form suggesting 2-1. So, yeah, I expect this. Yeah, I expect this, like most, for a Liverpool victory here. And do you know what? If you're really looking punty, Firmino, Jota, Carvalho. If you get that early team news and you see Carvalho's playing, I'll tell you what, could be an absolute steal. He is brilliant, Carvalho. Every time he's played for Liverpool, he's looked absolutely on it. And do you know what? I would not be surprised if he was to get something in that game against Southampton. Anyhow, like I say, remember tomorrow, join myself and Jason covering all the games. It's going to be carnage. It's going to be carnage, and it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see the ups and downs of what goes on within our mini leagues that we care for. On that note, as ever, thanks for supporting the show, and me and Jason will see you tomorrow.